Amazing day to all. This is your amazing guru, Teacher Dan Ragayan, and welcome to another episode of our LEPT review session. Malapit na naman ang Board Licensure Examination for Professional Teachers, and I know naghahanda na kayong lahat para dito. Samahan niyo ako dahil mag-rationalize na naman tayo ng 10 tanong about professional education. First, let me share my screen. Alright, so I hope meron kayong papel at lapis no, sa tabi ninyo or ballpen para samahan ninyo ako magsagot ng mga katanungan ito. Then we're going to reveal the answer and then we will rationalize. So, of course, our goal is that you will pass the board. So I hope you will all pass the board exam. So patuloy lang kayo mag-review at patuloy lang kayo magbasa. So let's start, no? First question, what kind of sources do critical thinkers rely on for attaining truth? A, biased, B, varied interest, C, opinionated, D, credible. What do you think is the answer? Of course, that is credible. So when we say critical thinking, of course, that is one of the 21st century skills, no, that we have to develop among our learners, that they have to use the high order thinking skills. And for them to be able to do that, they have also to use materials which actually are credible. As teachers, ganun din tayo, di ba? When we prepare our instructional materials, we resort to getting information or facts from credible sources. Credibility is very important, especially now that we are in the age of false information, fake news, misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation. And these materials that we are using must actually align with the principles of credibility. We ensure that these materials are have integrity. We can trust these materials. These are reliable. These are authentic and based on facts. No, it has reputation, so we actually get information from reputable sources like journal articles, websites which are managed by universities or by educational organizations. It has regard and even commitment. So patuloy tayo, no? Patuloy tayong lumaban sa fake news and false information, and I hope we teachers should not be peddlers, no, of these false information. So we can do this, no? We can continue to enhance the critical thinking of our students by also encouraging them to use credible sources. Okay? Second, how do you judge the teaching style of a teacher who facilitates development of students through dialogue and questioning? Is it A, interactive, B, inspiratory, C, explanatory, D, programmatic? So we're asking about teaching style here. So what do you think is the answer? Okay, of course, that is interactive. So the keywords here are facilitate, no, development students through dialogue and question. So when we have dialogue or conversations sa ating mga estudyante, and when we ask questions, we throw questions to them and we expect the answer from them, then our teaching style are leaning towards being interactive. So there are different teaching styles. So these teaching styles, no, based from Louis Rubin in 1985 are the following. First is explanatory. So when we say explanatory, the teacher is in command of the subject matter and explains particular aspects of the lesson. So the teaching style is more on explaining the concepts to the students and enhancing their conceptual understanding of the subject. Second is inspiratory. The teacher stimulating and exhibits emotional involvement in teaching. So in this way, the teacher is a source of inspiration among the learners. So, they are more of motivated and positively triggered and positively disturbed because they see from the teacher the connection. There is a connection and emotional involvement sa pagtuturo ng teacher. Informative, however, is that the teacher presents information through verbal statements and the students expected to listen and follow instruction. So it's more of like giving the students information, giving them verbal statements. So more of like informing them, okay, informing them. So the tendency is that the students will just be listening and following instructions. Corrective, on the other hand, is that the teacher provides feedback to the student, analyze their work, diagnose errors, and present corrective ideas. So it's more of like correcting misconceptions or alternative conceptions, checking the errors, evaluating their weaknesses based on the output. More of like formative in nature. So it's corrective. So winawas to ng guro yung mga pagkakamali ng mga estudyante. Interactive, gaya ng nasabi natin kanina, more of dialogue and questioning. The teacher facilitates students' ideas by involving them to conversations, tulad nito, and by asking them questions, especially high-order thinking questions, which actually challenge their thoughts or their critical thinking. And lastly is programmatic. The programmatic teaching style is where when the teacher guides the students' activities and facilitates self-instruction and independent learning. So it's more of like teacher facilitates and guides students' activities. They are more of self-directed learning, independent learning. Gaya ng nangyari no, during the educational disruption due to the COVID-19 pandemic, students tend to be independent learners. They are answering the modules no, based on their pacing. That's more of programmatic. Pinoprogram ni teacher yung lesson wherein students are greatly involved in the process. So these are the teaching styles of Louis Rubin in 1985. So pag na-encounter nyo to, you take note no of those of keywords which I actually typed in book, right? Next question, how do you judge the teaching style of a teacher who provides feedbacks to students, analyzing their work, and diagnosing errors? So, alam na natin to, no? A, interactive, B, inspiratory, C, exploratory, explanatory, D, corrective. Okay, what do you think is the answer based on our previous rationalization? Siyempre, that is more of corrective. So, nagbibigay ng feedback, ng comment, ng suggestion ng teachers to further enhance the students' outputs and performance. Not only that, they analyze their work and diagnose their errors. So more of a diagnosis of the weaknesses and seeing this as a room for improvement. Okay. Next, what philosophical belief describes the schools should develop political literacy among students so they can use to improve quality of life? Is it A, perennialism, B, progressivism, C, existentialism, D, essentialism? What do you think is the answer? Right, syempre, that is more of perennialism. Remember, political literacy, politics, humanities are actually subjects are disciplines which are true even until today. Because in perennialism, it's more of what is true years ago may still be relevant and may still be true today. These are the thinking of perennialists. So when we say perennialists, they are leaning towards long-lasting truth, great ideas of Western civilization, including the concept of democracy. So in our question, developing political literacy, and that is part of our democratic thinking, a democratic way. And the perennialists believe na the old ideas, the old information are still relevant even in the modern time. Progressivism would actually more of students' interest, collaboration, grouping, trying to see the progress of the students by teaming them up, collaborating, and working together. Existentialism has something to do with the freedom of choice. The choice of the student or a person kung saan siya gustong pumunta. No? It's a personal responsibility. It's a freedom of choice. No? In which way or in which career path or in which discipline later on he or she will actually do. While essentialism has something to do with the basic skills. Actually includes your 3Rs, your reading, writing, and correct. So again, this is under your philosophy of next question. By the way, this has something to do with the difference between essentialism and perennialism. So essentialism is more of acquiring the common core of knowledge, no, in a systematic, disciplined way. Again, the basic or the core subject. Perennialism is leaning towards teaching the things that are everlasting importance to all individuals everywhere. Again, everlasting. No? So what is true today, or what is true to yesterday is still true today. Okay? Under essentialism, it includes traditional disciplines such as reading, writing, literature, history, foreign languages, mathematics, science, art, and music. While perennialism curriculum emphasizes on great works of literature and art, the loss of or principle of science. That's why teaching of humanities, teaching of literature can also be considered under perennialism. In essentialism, accept that there can be changes in knowledge, but in perennialism, everlasting, not changing, unchanging truth. Okay? For essentialism, it focuses on essential skills, the most important skills, while for perennialism, focuses first on personal development. Okay? Curriculum tends to be more fact-based in essentialism, while here curriculum tends to be principle-based. It's actually based on the principle truth, no? The everlasting truth that even the Bible, the teaching of the Bible is considered under perennialism. Okay? Next, what kind of knowledge process is involved when teacher then asks students to reflect on themselves as self-learning? A, deduction, B, metacognition, C, observation, D, induction. What do you think is the answer? Of course, that is metacognition, or reflecting on themselves as self-learning. So basically, this is actually thinking about thinking. Deduction and induction is actually your approaches in teaching, right? So when we say deduction or deductive teaching, that is from general to specific, while inductive teaching is from specific to general. Then observation is, of course, a very important science process skill, so that we'll be able to actually formulate a certain hypothesis. So here you can see metacognition, intentional thinking about how you think and learn. So this is actually how our students think and learn, their intentional thinking about it. Cognition, your thinking activities and processes. Also, questions in metacognition include, I am figuring out what are the steps that I need to follow here. I am wondering whether, what do I already know about this topic? Where did I get stuck when trying to solve this problem? Stack, no? It reminds me of something, and what is the assignment asking me to do? It's actually trying to be more of reflective and be more of intentional in terms of thinking, and for the students to be able to accomplish the task. The next question, after the 1987 Constitution, what is the first legal basis that makes teaching a profession and considers teachers as professional? A, Republic Act 7640, B, Presidential Decree 1006, C, Republic Act 7836, D, Code of Ethics for Professional People. What do you think is the answer? Of course, that is Republic Act 7836. Remember that the 1987 Constitution is the mother of all laws. So basically, this is the pioneer, legal basis for making teaching as a profession. However, if after that, so if we're going to be asked about the first legal basis, that is Republic Act 7836 or the Teachers Professionalization Act. So 7640 is an act constituting the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council. So that is not actually about teaching. PD 1006 is more providing for the professionalization of teachers, regulating their practice in the Philippines and for other purposes. So this is more of professionalization, and regulating their practices, or regulating the practices of the teachers in the country. While 7836 is the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act, which actually considers teachers as professionals. Okay? So, of course, Code of Ethics is under also Republic Act 7830. So Article 11 of RA number 7836 is the legal basis for the Code of Ethics for professional teachers under Resolution number 435 series of 19. Yeah, so the history is that during the in 1973 the creation of the Professional Regulation Commission under Presidential Decree number 223. Then we have the Philippine Teacher Professionalization Act of 1994. which actually created the Board for Professional Teachers. And then RA 8981 is the PRC Modernization Act of 2000 to modernize, of course, the commission. And then RA 9293 is the amendment of Republic Act 7836 in 2004, which actually includes provisions on the unique courses that those um, non-education graduates shall take, and those who have stopped from the teaching profession, no, for quite some time, and even the inclusion of para teachers. Then RA 10912 is the CPD law, or the Continuing Professional Development Law, which was actually uh, passed, no, in 2016. This actually gives teachers um, the opportunity to have CPD units every 3 years, no, prior to renewal of their license. So initially, there are 45 units. So meron tayong 45 units na CPD na kailangang isatisfy. Yun yung una, no? Yung una. But uh, a year later, no, nagkaroon ng revision, nagkaroon ng amendment na only 15 CPD units for professional teachers to satisfy the requirements for the renewal of their license. Pag tinanong sa board exam, ilan ng CPD units ang kailangan, every 3 years ang isasagot natin ay 15 CPD. Pero pag ang tanong yung initial na units, that is 40. So next, why is the teacher's authority important in managing the classroom? A, to motivate the students to internalize self-discipline. B, to sow fear of the teachers to make students focus on classroom learning. C, to make the students obey all the orders of the teachers. D, to coerce the students to behave properly. What do you think is the answer? Alright, so that is A, to motivate the students to internalize self-discipline. So ito ay isa, no, sa pinaka importance, no, ng teacher's authority in managing the classroom, for us to be able to motivate our students and to internalize self-discipline. Okay? So I'd like to share to you the authority or power of teachers according to Savage and Savage in 2010. There are actually 5 here. Legitimate power would include or would actually focus on the position and role of the teachers. So dito nakikita natin that the teachers are in charge, that the teacher has the role and has the position in the classroom. So we see the students see teachers as with legitimate power, no? That he or she is an authority in the classroom. Okay? Reward has something to do with the ability to give reward. So dito nakikita or nabibigay natin, no, as teachers yung mga verbal praises, very good, excellent, outstanding. So that's part of our rewarding to our students, part of our motivation for them to improve further their performance and achievement. Coercive is ability to punish. We have this ability to punish, an example, detention, but of course, in this era, we are avoiding the corporal punishment. So our punishment is more of positive discipline. Okay? Although that is part of our coercive power, where we actually give punishment to the students who actually misbehave. Expert power has something to do with having superior knowledge. We already know what we teach. This is something to do with our content knowledge, our pedagogical knowledge, our content and pedagogical knowledge. We are expert in our own field. We are expert in our own craft. So that's part of our expert power. Referent lastly is our perceived as caring. We are more of considering the best interest of students. We make them the sense of belongingness in the classroom. So we are trying to make the classroom's atmosphere more conducive, more 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 belonging, safer, and very harmonious for them. So that is more of referent power. So the question earlier is leaning towards the ability, no, to punish, no, coercive, sometimes if they actually misbehave, because we are trying to manage the internal discipline, and we have to manage the classroom and make sure that the students are actually disciplined. So, which is not an evidence of pedagogical competence of a teacher. A, communication of the course objective to the students. B, adhering to the code of ethics for professional teachers. C, awareness of alternative instructional strategies. Or letter B, selection of appropriate methods of instruction. Okay, what do you think is the answer? Not an evidence. Of course, that is letter B, adhering to the code of ethics for professional teachers. So the rest, letter E, letter C, and letter D, are leaning more of the pedagogical competence of a teacher, their teaching competence, their competence as a teacher in the classroom. Okay? So remember that teachers have what we call the TPAC, no? The technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge. I'm going to focus on the three, your TK, and TK. So your TK, technological knowledge, is your knowledge in the use of technology, in integrating technology in instruction. So paano natin ginagamit ang technology to effectively deliver content. Pedagogical knowledge is your knowledge about the strategies, approaches, and techniques in teaching. It's actually your knowledge about the different strategies that you want to employ in your classroom. Your knowledge about brain-based learning, jigsaw learning, brain-based approach, and even collaborative learning strategies. So this is more of pedagogical. Well, CK, or content knowledge, is your knowledge about the subject matter that you're teaching. So you know what you teach because you have an adequate content. So that is the three important knowledge that we have to possess as teacher: our pedagogical knowledge, our content knowledge, and technological knowledge, or technological pedagogical content knowledge, or TPK. The rest are actually the infusion of each of the two elements in. Okay? Next, setting of learning objectives adopts certain characteristics under the acronym of SMART. Identify the kind of objectives set by SMART teachers. The A in SMART is blank. A, active. B, attainable. C, achievement. D, advisable. What do you think is the answer? All right. Of course, that is letter B, attainable. So that is part of our crafting of objectives or SMART objectives. A, the T in SMART is blank. A, true. B, time-bound. C, traditional. D, tabulated by objective. Again, we're talking about SMART objectives, crafting SMART learning outcomes as part of our curriculum designing or lesson planning. So T here is, of course, time-bound. Again, that's still part of our SMART. Now, SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So, tandaan ninyo to, no? Kasi maraming beses na rin tong lumabas sa board. Okay? Alright, so that ends no our 10 questions for professional education. So, nakasampu na naman tayong tanong. And hopefully, samahan nyo na naman ako ulit sa susunod. So, before I end, I'd like to leave you with this motivation alert. No? Trust to yourself, you can do this. No? So, tiwala lang, kakayanin natin to at patuloy na mag-aral at magbasa at maghanda, no, para sa inyong board licensure examination for professional teachers. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Teacher Dan. Thank you very much and happy review.